Now we're going to take a look at a couple of other things regarding selections. The first thing is that if you want to select the opposite part of the image than what you have selected, that's called selecting the inverse. And you can invert your selection a couple of different ways. One is you can go up here to select in the menu and you can select inverse, and you see that now all of this outer part here is selected, and actually the flower is not selected anymore. Alright, I'm going to select inverse again and go back to where I was. This was our original selection. The shortcut for selecting the inverse is to hold down Shift, Command or Control, and the letter I. And so you can do that, like I said, a couple of different ways. You can select inverse from the menu, or you can hit Command Shift I and it selects the inverse for you. So that's a pretty handy shortcut to know. Deselect again is Command or Control D, and then if you want to reselect your last selection, you can hold down Shift Command D and it reselects the last thing you had selected. Additionally, you could always do Command Z if it was the last step, and it would do the same thing. Go back and reselect your area. Now to load your layer as a selection, then all you have to do is hold down Command or Control and click on the thumbnail. And we don't have a regular layer, we only have the background layer right now, so that won't work, but you've seen me demonstrate that in previous videos several times, and we will do so again shortly. Now, the reason for making selections can be several different things. Maybe you want to move things. Once you have something selected, you can use the Move tool, and you can drag it around. And you can move it to wherever you want. So if I wanted to add more flowers, or to move this flower, I can move it over here. Now, I'm going to do Command Z, and that puts it back where it was. And if I hold down the Alt or Option key and click and drag, it actually duplicates whatever I had in the selection. And so once again, I'm going to undo. In order to duplicate, I hold down my Alt or Option on a Mac and click and drag, and I'm able to duplicate whatever I had selected. I can also then transform whatever I have selected just by doing the Command T and then holding down my Shift key here to get a nice uniform transform. If I want to maybe have some different sizes of flowers. You can also select your object and decide to change the color or add a pattern or fill with an image. And so changing the background or switching people's heads out if somebody was blinking in a family picture, something like that. Those are all different ways or reasons that you would go about using selections. You can always use a selection to create a mask. Go ahead and hit Enter to transform that object. And then I'm going to hold down Control or Command J. And what you'll see is that a new layer was created out of just what I had selected. Now if I want to create a layer mask, I can make a selection, so I can hold down Command and click on my thumbnail now that I'm not on the background layer and my selection is made around whatever that layer contains. And then with that selection in place, I can hit Layer Mask, and you'll see that a mask is created utilizing that selection. The next thing we're going to do is look at using the Marquee tool and feathering here. So we're going to go into Photoshop, select Browse and Bridge, and you need to open the Sleeping Baby image. So open sleepingbaby.jpg, and you want to zoom out just a little bit. And then the first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to draw a couple of guides at the 1.5 inch mark here, and then you need to bring it in 1.5 inches here. So 1.5 inch border all the way around the entire image is what you're going to do. So draw your guidelines. And if your guidelines can't be seen, then you're going to need to change the colors to make them more visible. And if you're not quite sure where the image ends, then what you need to do is make it a little bit easier on yourself to see. And go ahead and draw your guides. Command D to deselect, make sure nothing is selected. Duplicate your background layer, so Command J. And now you see layer 1. Then select your elliptical marquee tool. Now before you click and draw your marquee, you're going to want to put a number in for feathering up here. And so we're going to type in 35 up here where the text box is for feathering, and you're going to click right where your two guidelines intersect in the upper left corner. You're going to drag over and down until your guides are touching each of those 4 lines. And once you're able to see that, you're going to release and you'll see your elliptical marquee. Now what you need to do is click and create a layer mask. And it doesn't look any different just yet. But you can see that the white part of my mask, which is what is showing up right here in my mask. Now, turn off the background layer and you'll see the edge around your image is somewhat soft and fuzzy. That's what the feathering does. It softens your edge, blurs it up a little bit. Select your background layer and hit Command Shift N to create a new layer. And we're going to name this layer Fill. It's going to be at normal blend mode. Select OK. And then you're going to select the foreground color out of your toolbar. Your color picker will pop up and you're going to click within one of the pink polka dots. And when that pink shows up here in the color picker for foreground color, you select OK. And then you're going to select the paint bucket tool. And you're going to click in the checkerboard part of your image to fill it with that color of paint. Now, almost done with this one. The only thing you need to do is you need to select layer 1 and you're going to actually rename that layer. So click on the layer name. You may have to double click and type in Vignette because that's exactly what we just created. Hit enter and you have a nice pretty pink vignette around the baby. Hit Command Shift S and you're going to want to create a Chapter 4 folder for all of your files, and you're going to put in 4A and your last name underscore and leave sleepingbaby.psd. Make sure you're in your Chapter 4 folder that you've created. Click Save. And that concludes 4A.